ושמחו בשמחת תורה ותנו כבוד לתורה. שישו 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 ושמחו, או שישו ושמחו, או שישו שישו בשמחת תורה. שישו ו...
No. Now it is. Excellent. What an amazing, amazing day. We're going to let the Torah dry for a few minutes before we roll it up. It's so wonderful to all be here together, and it's just amazing to see everybody and to have had this opportunity to do something that for I think most of us is going to be once in a lifetime. So let's sing together. Let's sing the words of Hine Mato, because it is so good for us to be here together. Welcome. How good it is to be together today. It's really an honor and a privilege to share this joyous day together and to be dedicating our new Torah, welcoming our new Torah together. Two wooden sticks, the skin of a kosher animal, and some chemicals mixed together. That's all it takes to write a Torah. 304,805 letters, 79,976 words, 5,845 sentences, and 248 columns, each with 42 lines. Two wooden sticks, the skin of a kosher animal, and some chemicals mixed together. That's all it takes to write a Torah, that and 4,000 years of wandering, searching, suffering, learning, following, leading, loving, blessing. Two wooden sticks, the skin of a kosher animal, and some chemicals mixed together. That's all it takes to write a Torah. That and 4,000 years of longing, teaching, hoping, weeping, remembering, planting, praying, and praising. Two wooden sticks, the skin of a kosher animal, and some chemicals mixed together. That's all it takes to write a Torah. That and 4,000 years of living with God looking over our shoulders. So friends, it's wonderful to be here together. In the words of the Torah in Deuteronomy chapter 31, it says, "Gather the people, men, women, children, and the strangers in your communities, that they may hear and learn to revere the eternal your God and to observe faithfully every word of this teaching. Therefore write down this song and teach it to the people of Israel. Put it in their mouths in order that this song may be my witness." And that one line, chapter 31, verse 19, that's the origin of what's considered to be the 613th commandment, that it's a positive mitzvah for every Jewish person to write for yourself a copy of the Torah. Even if your father left you one, it's still a mitzvah for you to write a scroll of your own, and if you write it with your own hand, it's as if you received it at Mount Sinai. If one doesn't know how to write, one can ask someone to write on their behalf. And if you are there to write or to read even a single letter, it's as if you've written it in your entirety. In other words, if you don't have the ability to write your own Torah, you may appoint a shaliach, somebody to do it for you. And so for our congregation, Rabbi Yonah Lavery-Yisraeli has written Solel's new Sefer Torah She is considered to be our shaliach for our community. And the purpose of writing and reading and studying Torah, as explained in these verses, is not only to hear Torah, but also to put it in our mouths. Essentially, that it's so close to us that it is becoming a part of us, the teachings of God, that we not only listen to Torah, but we live by the words of the Torah in how we speak and what we do. Torah is the heart and soul of the Jewish community. It encompasses our history, our beliefs, our traditions. It reminds us of our past and is a guide for the future. It is the center of who we are, what we stand for, what's expected of us, and how to live a life of holiness in partnership with God and our community. As complex as life is, the teachings of Torah continue to provide us with strength, encouragement, and inspiration. And this Torah, which we have just completed, belongs to us, all of us, on so many levels. As we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of Solel, we have had the honor and the privilege to fulfill this mitzvah and to hand down the legacy of Torah to our children and to future generations of Solel. I especially want to recognize the members of our Living Torah Project Committee and our Solel 50th Anniversary Committee. Would you please stand? There are a few more, not everyone was able to be here today, but I really want to thank all of you for making this possible. And I want to thank our members who have helped and supported and taken on a number of roles on this journey, especially as well to the organizers and the planners of our celebration today, everyone who lent a hand to set up, who prepared all of our snacks and our refreshments, because it really takes a village. We also are grateful to everyone who contributed financially to this project, because all your donations are meaningful and appreciated. They help us to sustain and strengthen our community in many vital ways. And lastly, we thank all of you for being here today, because this Torah belongs to each and every one of us, and this dedication of the Torah is a historic milestone for our wonderful community. Mazel tov. Now we're going to hear from several people who were instrumental in bringing this Sefer Torah to life. So I first would like to call upon Sherry Amar. Sherry wrote the last letter today on behalf of Jerry and Nancy Willis, Zichronam Livracha. And it's through their generous donation that we were able to initiate the writing of this new Sefer Torah, ensuring the fulfillment of this dream. Many of you know how much Jerry and Nancy love this congregation, their long history at Solel, and most of all of Jerry's great love of Torah. And so the writing and dedication of this new scroll is the crown jewel in our 50th anniversary celebrations. Sherry?
I just have to add that you said 2 sticks, some kosher skin and some random chemicals, whatever. And we're blessed. A Soferet is absolutely necessary, so thank you from the bottom of my heart for making this possible. I have to start by doing a typical Jerry here. So Saul Heimowitz was known to all as a man of great piety who never missed a daily minyan. He gave away his money, cared nothing for his clothes, did not see to his own pleasures. He was the holiest and most modest of men. One day his son Morty, a successful stockbroker, said, "Pop, you're a wonderful man and you've never done a thing for yourself. Let me do something for you." His father protested, but the son said, "Please, as a favor to me." So Saul relented. Morty took him to a fancy hairstylist who gave him a splendid cut and gave his gray hair a brown tint. Then they went to Brooks Brothers, where he bought him a double-breasted blue jacket with a silk pocket square, boating shoes, and a captain's hat. I can picture Jerry, but anyway. Morty then took him to the Wall Street boating slip and announced that his father was going to spend 2 hours at the helm of his own boat, a childhood dream come true. "I have a meeting, otherwise I would go with you," Morty said. Saul set sail. About an hour later, when the boat was in the ocean, a huge storm gathered. Waves crashed into the side of the boat. The boat caught fire. It slammed into a rock. Saul was thrown into the water, and as he struggled to stay afloat, he looked up to the heavens. God, he said, I have always tried to be a good man and have kept your commandment as best I could. What did I, Saul Heimowitz, do to deserve this? The heavens opened, and the voice of the Almighty boomed down. Saul? To tell you the truth, Saul, I didn't even recognize you. I was blessed to have Jerry and Nancy Willis in my life. Together they shared a very special bond. He uprooted himself many times in their final years just to live and remain by her side. In the final days when she was rarely aware, she still responded to Jerry's voice, touch, and presence. Ani Ladodi Vidodi Li is inscribed on their headstone. I am my beloved's and my beloved is mine. A passage from Shir HaShirim, Song of Songs by King Solomon. Apart from the obvious of that meaning, according to IsraelCatalog.com, this love referred to in this passage is that of our relationship with God, a compassionate relationship full of understanding and forgiveness, a love that understands that life is a work in progress and nobody is perfect from the start. A beautiful and spiritual sentiment, it also translates into our relationships with other people. This is the kind of relationship to strive for, one where each party is there for one another in every situation or circumstance. So it symbolizes not only the relationship with God, but the ideal supportive relationship that builds up the participants. Jerry and I shared a curious affinity, perhaps because his life paralleled my dad's in so many uncanny ways, from being rural boys who left school early to enlist as young teens in the war efforts, who went on to become self-made millwrights, designers, inventors, joke and storytellers. Despite stubbornness and arguments, good and not so good, our mutual respect and deeply caring friendship kept us close, as did what drew us to Judaism. His gratitude for the acceptance, encouragement, and guidance he received by Solel almost 50 years ago was always close to the surface in all he did and said. He undertook every aspect of Torah with love and kavanah, study, teaching, debating, chanting, devarim, to repairing the parchment or wooden staves with a loving heart and caring hands. I was and still am honored to have called them both my dear friends. After Nancy passed, Jerry hosted a small luncheon at Solel to express his desire to gift Solel with warm hands, trying to find an appropriate way. After some discussion, Arliene Botnick spoke up and said simply, we need a new Torah. It was like a proverbial light bulb moment, actually more like a bolt of lightning moment, and a perfect way to honor them both. Couldn't have been a better fit. Long story shorter, with a poignant point, why didn't Jerry just donate a Torah to Solel? He could have. As important as it was to Jerry for Solel to have its own Torah, and having the ability and passion to enable that, it was even more crucial to him that he gave all of us the opportunity to be part of this wonderful project. He was adamant about this, allowing others to perform a mitzvah, mitzvah goreret mitzvah. The final letter of the Torah is lamed, and the first is bet. Together they form the Hebrew word lev, heart. Jerry's gift keeps on giving from warm heart and hands to the next generation of warm heart and hands, Lador Vador. I want to thank everyone, all involved, for sharing and fulfilling his dream. May this serve as guidance and inspiration for us all, and may their memory always be for a blessing.
It's so wonderful that Jerry had the foresight to offer us this gift, to give us the opportunity to start writing this scroll. No, it's fortuitous, I think, in many ways that our Torah dedication happens just after Shavuot, Zman Matan Toratenu, celebrating the gift of Torah. Tradition teaches us that we all stood at Sinai for our ancestors to receive Torah, but it was only after a long journey through the wilderness. And Solel has also been on a long journey to its 50th anniversary, the word Solel meaning pathway. Our pathway was guided from the beginning by Rabbi Englander with the support and wisdom of many Solelniks who gave of their time, their talents, and energy. We know that we can't do it alone, and just as the generation that founded Solel have been building and sustaining our synagogue with generosity and commitment, we promise to do our part for the generation that we have and for the generations to come after. So I'd like to invite Rabbi Englander to speak and share some words of Torah with us.
Thank you, Rabbi. I'd just like to start with a little bit of history. Does anybody know what was the first Torah scroll that Solel acquired? Gavin. Well, you're close. It was actually from Temple Sinai, care of Rabbi Perlson.
Arliene says she knew. I knew that.
Yeah, okay. Sorry, I didn't see your hand up. Anyway, I think most of you know I grew up at Temple Sinai, so I certainly had a relationship with Rabbi Perlson. And when Solel began, he called me in and he said, look, I'm going to give you a Torah scroll, but it's going to be on loan until you get your own. And when you think of it, that was such a brilliant thing to do. That on the one hand, we had a Torah scroll that we could cherish and read from and study from, but it also motivated us to make sure that we would get our own Torah scroll or scrolls as time went on. Very shortly thereafter, the Lewis family, Matt and Arliene, may their memory be for a blessing, decided to donate a Torah scroll. They sent me to New York to pick it up at the shop there. And that's the one that had a velvet blue cover, and I believe it still has the blue color cover today. Then shortly thereafter, Donna and Murray Dale of blessed memory also donated a second Torah scroll to Solel, and that was in a rust-colored mantle, which is now the red-colored mantle. Even before those two, in between the Temple Sinai scroll and the Lewis scroll, I was still a student at Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati, and a friend of mine who was just a year behind me was serving a small congregation in Cincinnati. And it was made up mainly of seniors, and his board kind of told him that the congregation wasn't going to last much longer, that it was time for them to close their doors. And they said, we have a Torah scroll, and we want to make sure that it goes to a young and vibrant and beginning congregation. And so Rabbi John Nyman said to me, we want you to have the scroll. So this time I didn't have to go to New York. I just had to put the Torah scroll in the back seat of my car and drive it up to Solel. Then time went on, and I think you know that the Westminster Synagogue in London, England, had brought in over 1,900 Torah scrolls from Czechoslovakia that the Nazis had taken out of the synagogues and stored them in a warehouse, and they were going to create a museum for a bygone race. That was their intention. However, thank God that didn't happen, and through some philanthropists, they redeemed the Torah scrolls, brought them to London, and a Soferet just happened to knock on the door of the synagogue saying, I happen to be a scribe, do you have any Torah scrolls to repair? And they said, come on in, have we got work for you? And he spent the next few years repairing those scrolls, and we have one now that Cheryl and I donated for Solel's 25th anniversary, and thanks to Shirley Herman, she went over to London and brought the scroll back. So this is the history of all the Sifrei Torah, and it's not just the history of the scrolls themselves, but it's a history of all the people that were involved in bringing these scrolls to Solel, and all the people that have studied from them and read from them. And Cheryl's giving me a play from the bench. No, it's okay? All right. Did I miss anybody? Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, you're absolutely right. That the next Torah scroll that came along came from Kevin and Cheryl Shine and their family. And this is the one in the green mantle, and this is a rather unique one because it's written on deerskin. And it's actually very, very old. And Kevin and Cheryl were able to find it and donate it to the synagogue as well. Thank you. I had a mental block there for a second. So all these beautiful scrolls and all these wonderful people that made the donations. And then, of course, we come to this beautiful scroll here today that we have all worked on together. And I'll talk about Jerry in a second. But first of all, Rabbi Yonah is sitting there very quietly behind the table. I think we really owe her our token of thanks. You can tell just by looking at the letters and the calligraphy how much love and how much kavanah the rabbi has placed in writing every single letter. And we're very grateful and very fortunate to have you partner with us in this wonderful project. Then if you take a look at the Atzei Chaim, this beautiful wood, it doesn't come from nowhere. As a matter of fact, the Atzei Chaim were actually fashioned by Joel Brown. So I think we give him... And Joel decided to do some marquetry inside the disc. Now that you know, you may want to go back and take a look, which comes from the Mishnah, and it says, Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba d'kula ba. Turn it and keep turning it again and again, because everything can be found within it. And that's one of the many reasons that we continue to keep the Torah in a scroll form rather than in a book, so that we continue turning it back and forth. There's another statement from the Mishnah that I want to share with you. Mishnah is part of the earlier part of the Talmud, and it says that you can basically sell anything in order to purchase a Torah scroll. You can sell any books that it takes to buy it. You can sell your synagogue to buy a Torah scroll. You can sell the land on which the synagogue rests. Any of those things to sell to buy a scroll, but you cannot sell the scroll. Once you have a Torah scroll, it's with us forever. And I hope certainly that that will be the case with this beautiful scroll that we have now. So getting back to Jerry. Jerry used to love reading from one particular parasha. Any of you remember which one it was? It was the story of Joseph. And there were two times that brought Jerry to tears. One of them is when Jerry read the part where Joseph is revealing his identity to his brothers, and he says, Ani Yosef, ha'od avichai. I am Joseph. Does my father yet live? Does my ancestral tradition yet live? The other time he burst into tears is earlier in the Joseph story, where Jacob, Joseph's father, sends him out into the field because the rest of his 11 brothers were out shepherding the sheep, and his father wanted to know how they were doing and making sure they weren't getting into any trouble. And as Joseph was wandering around, he meets this stranger in the middle of the field, who, of course, the rabbis of the Talmud declared was an angel. And the man said, you know, where are you going? And this was Jerry's second line where he burst into tears. It is my brothers that I seek. So Jerry, I hope you're hearing this. But today, because of you, Od Avinu Chai, our ancestral traditions live and thrive within this wonderful congregation, led so majestically by Rabbi Pollock. And Jerry, if it is your brothers and sisters that you seek, here we are. You have found us, and we will always be with you. So I mentioned that the statement on the scrolls is Hafoch ba v'hafoch ba d'kula ba, that we should continue studying and studying the Torah again and again, for everything is in it. And if you don't mind my borrowing your guitar, there's a way, especially at Solel, that we mark our study of Torah, and this is a prayer that we sing every single session of Beit Sefer Solel, and that is, of course, La'asok b'divrei Torah. So I would like you to sing it with me right now. Here we go. Mazal tov to us all.
Thank you, that's my favorite one. We are celebrating our new Torah in honor of our 50 years, and we're looking back on our past and rejoicing in our present and dedicating this to our future. So the rabbis in the Talmud teach us that the world exists for the breath of children in the house of study. And Solel has a strong community of learners, both children and adults, and we are looking forward to our future, continuing to build a community that is dedicated to living and learning our Jewish values, Vishinantam Levanecha. For 37 years, Arliene Botnick has been our Director of Education, inspiring and encouraging Solelniks on the path of Torah. And so I'd like to call upon Arliene to share some thoughts about the meaning of Lador Vador.
Thank you, Rabbi. It's not often that we can be together and celebrate a miracle, but today, this is a miracle. 50 years ago, more or less, it was a little thought, a little hope, a little tikva. Maybe in Mississauga, west of Toronto, we can have a Jewish community. And a handful of people said, we can do it. And we have done it. We have spent 50 years creating a community that we can be proud of, that our children and our grandchildren can be proud of. We started with a hope. We started with a handful of people, and now you are part of that miracle. Lador Vador, from generation to generation. So I'd like 3 people to stand up now. They won't have to read anything. So Jacob, Wesley, and Lucy, stand up. Because from generation to generation, these are our next few bar and bat mitzvahs, and you young people are going to be able to read from the most beautiful, beautiful scroll. Thank you. Toda Rabba, Rabbi. It is amazing. Now you can sit down. I didn't ask you to do anything. In the process of arranging this, it isn't something that happened in the past weeks or in the past months or in the past years. This has been an effort that all of us have been working for the past 50 years. Some of us are vatikim, old-timers, and we look ahead to the young people, the younger people, and we look ahead to the privilege of reading from Torah week after week. And many of you have read from the 4 Torahs the Rabbi Emeritus spoke about, and now many of you will continue to read from Torah, from our new scroll. So I wish to thank all of you for making this reality, making this miracle come true. For my own family, my kids, my grandkids, who have all read from Torah here, For many of you who have adults have become adult bar bat b'nei mitzvah here. For those of you who still have simchas to celebrate here, let us rejoice in a miracle, and let us thank God for all that has been given us, and let us make sure that Solel goes on for many, many more 50 years to come. Thank you.
This afternoon, we also especially want to recognize everyone who has worked tirelessly to make this dream a reality, and who day after day and week after week and month after month give so much time and love and devotion to leading our synagogue community. Because without them, without all of you, we could not do the things that we do. So it's my pleasure to call upon our president, John Lewsen, to share some thoughts.
Thank you, Rabbi Pollock, and I feel so honored to have been invited to say a few brief words today on behalf of Solel's board. Being part of and witnessing the completion of the final 5 words of our Torah, and being with you here today at our Sion Torah dedication celebration has certainly been a meaningful and really, truly a once-in-a-lifetime experience for me, and I hope that you're all feeling the same way about it. Like many of us, my first close-up exposure and opportunity to read from the Torah scroll goes back to my own bar mitzvah in Johannesburg a little while ago. My parashah came from Genesis, one of the early chapters of Genesis, Lech Lecha, which when translated from Hebrew means get thee. And it was God's instruction to Abraham to leave his past, to leave the land which he lived in, and to go forward. And I still remember and carry the related interpretive message that was given to me from our Rabbi, Dr. Arthur Paul Super, about the importance of looking ahead and going forward to ensure that wherever we live, and as a Jewish community, we should endeavor to be a blessing to all and to make a difference. And in my mind, this is the sentiment that defines Solel. For me, today's celebration of Solel's new Torah represents our opportunity to look ahead as we continue to bring the teachings of Judaism to future generations, and also to share and practice these principles of Torah within our greater community. I want to thank the members of the Living Torah Fundraising Project for your great support and effort leading up to today. This includes our current chair, Michael Pullback, together with Gavin Herman and Les Rothschild, Chris Sarah and Rabbi Pollock, and to the others who served on the original committee, including Dennis Norton, who is our past chair, Roz Allen, Robin Botnick, Sherry Amar, and Rabbi Englander. And I also want to express our board's gratitude to every person who has contributed financially to the Living Torah Fund, starting with the very generous contribution from the late Jerry and Nancy Willis, and to the many Solelniks past and present who are supporting what is proving to be one of our most successful fundraisers to date. And so this is the additional gift that Jerry has given us, is the ability to go a little bit beyond and to enhance our sacred space and to raise some funds needed for the synagogue. So since announcing the target at our AGM, we've received several additional generous donations, and we're now at 83%, 208,000, which means we've passed the 80% mark of our 250,000 target. So really do appreciate the effort and support of everybody. We're keeping the campaign open till the end of the 2024 tax year, and hoping that by the end of December that every one of our members who wishes to do so will have contributed. And I'm particularly encouraged by the many who over the years have made multiple top-up donations and dedications. Thank you for your continued support. As you know, this fundraiser has not only allowed us to pay for the Torah, but the extra amounts raised will enable us to continue enhancing the sacred space in which our Torah will be housed. And we also plan to boost our capital endowment fund, which will ensure added income for the future. And among the other priorities, this estate will enable us to maintain our Torahs in a good state of repair for future generations. So early next year, we're planning to recognize all our donors with the unveiling of a new donor board, and I hope we'll have the names of every current Solelniks and many of our past members, and we'll continue the celebrations. And finally, as I wrap up this last event of our Solel at 50 celebrations, I'm going to ask you to join me again in recognizing the enthusiasm and success of our Solel at 50 committee under the leadership of Ros Allen, Arliene Botnick, Cheryl Englander, Andrea Galambas, Amy Green, Jane Neverlith, and Linda Sage Alexander, and the many others who have helped out on the specific events and the many events that we've had over the past year. You've done an amazing job on these, these individuals have participated in the Living Torah project. Thank you so much. And if by chance I've missed anyone, please let me know. I hope I haven't. Thank you. And notwithstanding what's been happening during the past year in Israel and Gaza, this project and the Solel at 50 has really collectively helped us keep together as a resilient, meaningful, and strong Jewish voice and community. Thank you all.
So as we began planning, we looked for a sofer or a soferet to write our new scroll, and it was our goal to find someone whose commitment and dedication to Jewish life aligned with our own values of inclusion and our commitment to progressive Judaism. And we were thrilled to have found Rabbi Yonah Lavery-Yisraeli. In addition to being a soferet, Rabbi Yonah is also a talented artist who has received smicha, rabbinic ordination, and she is a teacher of Talmud. She is one of only a small number of women scribes. It was also fortuitous that at the time she was living not far from us in Hamilton, and when we began this project, we had expected that Yonah would be able to visit in person several times to demonstrate the writing process, to teach our children and adults, and we had no idea what the next several years would bring. Throughout the process, Yonah has been ably presenting and teaching us on Zoom and working hard on the writing of our Torah throughout the pandemic and amidst that move that she had with her husband and son a year ago to Brooklyn. And so it's really our good fortune, our beshert, that we were able to partner with Rabbi Yonah. Her writing is done with such deep love and kavanah, with sacred intention, and such beautiful, beautiful lettering, which is according to Sephardi custom in the Maimonidean and Yemenite tradition, which she has endeavored to use in her work to keep alive that tradition. And I'm so happy that all of you were able to see the exquisite lettering in the scroll. She's dedicated 3 years to the scribing of our new Sefer Torah, and we've been so honored to have her as our soferet and our guide for this project. So I'd like to invite Rabbi Yonah Lavery-Yisraeli to come and share perhaps a few words about what this process has been and what it means to you now. Yes. John, would you go babysit the Torah, please?
Thank you. Sorry, I guess you don't have a bat mitzvah box.
We do.
I'm sorry.
No worries, that's exactly what it's for. Let's just make sure.
Thank you. Thank you. I get to hopefully see more than my hair. Yes, as Rabbi Pollack has mentioned, and as you unfortunately know, we were exiled to America, to New York, and one of the bitterest experiences there was discovering that people in New York don't all talk in that cute, funny way that I'd been led to expect. A lot of people in New York talk normal. They sound like Canadians to me, and they marvel that I don't have a Canadian accent. And I was really expecting like the parents of George Costanza, you know? But that's the way the world is going now, that all sorts of special ways of talking that people had, even, you know, different neighborhoods in the same city sometimes, getting more and more kind of faded out to the same standard. And as our talking gets that way, it's the same in the Jewish ritual world. Our writing gets that way. With the kind of communication, the kind of exposure that we have nowadays, is getting to be, to put it in a most extreme sense, that it's possible to buy a Torah today.
You know, instead of a home-cooked meal, you get the same exact Torah that is possible to get anywhere else. And for me personally, I'm not satisfied with that. I find it bland, you know? There are some features that we've started incorporating into Torah writing that make it easier and more accessible for people to read Torahs. I like that, and I've incorporated that into the Torah which I've written for you. For example, if you have a little tikkun to help you prepare for learning from a Torah, it's done in a certain format, but then you often find that the actual Torah scroll is written in a very different way, so it can take a few minutes to find out where you're supposed to be, right? This is written the same way as that book that you're learning from, so that if you see, oh, it's the top line in my book, you'll know to find it's the top line in the Torah scroll. Hopefully things can be less awkward and you can find more confidence as you read because of that. But at the same time, I want to bring that old in that is now considered to be too weird or too inconvenient or simply just, you know, not the done thing. So my writing, as many of you saw here, hopefully you were able to recognize it's a little bit of a cousin to that Yemenite Torah that you have in the green mantle here. It's informed by the same traditions. It doesn't necessarily mean more or less. It just is what it is. And I felt like I had a responsibility to help those strains of tradition which have the lower hand at the moment and to lift them up and preserve them. I think everybody knows that you've got to combine old with new, but so many people do so very thoughtlessly. Really, they're picking kind of what they want or what kind of goes with the flow of their life, and there isn't necessarily a lot of thought process out. Sometimes that can result in a real kind of Franken tradition that like it's not necessarily serving well. But I think you, in particular, are a congregation that knows exactly how to reach into the past and find the exact right phrase that's going to eliminate the present. I've been very fortunate to see your rabbi and many of you just on the fly mentioning things so casually as going great together that in my perhaps like more traditional corner of the Jewish world, like we would never have even thought of that. Like for example, you were saying just today about how, a chuppah would be really appropriate for this ceremony. Never in I would have thought of that, you know, but because I feel like this congregation is really keyed into, but what does it really mean? What does a chuppah really mean? You're able to bring that to bear on a whole new wide range to beautify your circumstances. And I hope that this writing reflects that ethos and can be good for you too, that way of combining old with the new. And by the way, I think that that is also the way of looking at the increased involvement of, for example, women in writing Torah. I actually don't think that's because it's the modern thing to do. When people say something like the future is female, like I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. It sounds kind of offensive perhaps to me, if not utterly superficial. I think the reason to involve women and to involve everybody, but let's stick with women for now, is actually because we're finally at a point where we're ready to bring forward our mothers, to reach back into the past and bring not just a select few forward with us. And many of you have spoken today about people who've passed away in your community, in your family. Really just 2 hours ago, I learned that a good friend of mine is dead, and it's very surprising. And I just hope that this too is just part of that skill of stitching together. As one stitches parchment together and forms a Torah, we stitch the departed and our hopes together and make a teaching which can serve us and others in our life. Thank you for inviting me.
in a few moments, we're going to be dressing and lifting our Torah and celebrating placing it into our ark for the first time, our Rona Kodesh. Before we do so, I'd like to ask some people that are on that side of the room to pick up those little half sheets of paper that are on the chair and pass them out to everybody, because we have a blessing to say together, and I forgot to pass those out. I'm just going to move that because I don't need to stand on it. Also, we did not put out the chuppah, so I think we're going to use my talit as a chuppah as we welcome the Torah. And while we're doing that, we can just sing together. So I invite, let's see, Sherry and Rabbi Englander and Cheryl, could you come up and hold this talit? And John as well. I hope I've chosen tall people.
Oh, yeah.
And Arliene, you can come up too, symbolically, because it's not going to be tall here. There you get that part there. So we're going to dress the Torah now. Pardon? Dave, is Horace still here? Is Dave here? Dave Gordon? No. Joel? Would you like to come and do Hagbah? Please rise as the Torah is lifted.
Torah
So I invite you now to join in this blessing for dedicating our new Torah as a community. We say Eloheinu v'Elohei Dorotenu, our God and God of our mothers and fathers, and all the generations. May it be your will that each of us the letter in Torah, indelibly inscribed as a sacred sign. As we write these final letters and dedicate the scroll, we pray that all who read from it, all who have contributed to its writing, and all who make this a Kehillah Kadoshah, a holy community, find life and meaning in its words, inspiration in its lessons, and a profound connection to the source of life. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu haTorah, giver of Torah. Baruch atah Adonai, Hamelech Torah, Holy Soferet. We praise you, Eternal One, teacher of Torah to your people of Israel. Amen. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai On behalf of this holy congregation that prays in this synagogue, you are requested to come forth and greet the Soferet Torah that we have Emeritus have written and are dedicating at an auspicious hour to this congregation. It's pie. And I want to also thank Sonia, our police officer, who is in here. Baruch atah b'voecha u'baruch atah b'tzeitecha. Blessed were we in coming into this place. Blessed may we be as we go forth to live, to love, and to serve our community. Amen. I think there's still a lot of food left if you're hungry.
If anybody has Father's Day celebrations, there are boxes of sandwiches we'd love to donate. You can take them home.
S Kinder, S.
S is in the A.